You're set. Mic's all off, except for mine. That one he wants on. Okay, good evening and welcome to the November 2022 Orange Board of Selectmen's meeting. In the event of an emergency, on my right, the audience left, the stairway which most people have come through from the rear parking lot. If for some reason that's not passable or moving quick enough, you can go down the hallway, which will put you out to the rear of the building by the firehouse, or you can go up the stairs behind the wall with the clock on it, through the double doors, and that will put you out in front of the town hall. But those are our three emergency exits. They have not changed. With that said, please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll start on my right down the end.
Good evening, PJ Shanley.
Good evening, Judy Williams.
Ann Denny, Secretary to the Board.
Vincent Moreno, Town Attorney.
Good evening, Ralph Openquist.
Good evening, Mitch Goldblatt.
Okay, now that we all still know who we are. Public participation. Public participation is for any item that is not an agenda item. For you to get up and express your opinion, you must state your name and address. You were first.
Yeah. I was.
No, it was like Jeopardy. You hit the button.
Okay.
There's a sign-in sheet up there.
Oh, yeah.
You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Larissa Persano, 637 South Greenbrier Drive. I'm just going to read. If you could take one and pass it down, I'd appreciate it, just so you guys have a copy. So I sent an email to Mayor Zioli and the
I got it on my
Selectmen today, and I'm just going to read what it says. At the last town hall meeting held on October 12th, I had expressed my concerns in regards to the current athletic fields at Fred Wolf Park. Mayor Zioli had stated that he would consider forming a committee to address the needs and concerns that the residents have in regards to these fields, the currently farmed 16 acres of land adjacent to the fields, the playground that's to be built, and the safety of residents in the area. 2 questions. Mayor Zioli, have you made a decision on forming a committee for this? And is the decision to form a committee decided solely by you or at the Board of Selectmen involved in this process? I'm again expressing my interest in improving the current soccer and lacrosse fields. I'm interested in having the current 16 acres of farmland develop into athletic fields. I'm interested in developing the playground, but I am most interested in ensuring the safety of the residents living around the fields as well as the participants at Fred Wolf Park. I understand that it will take time to properly investigate, plan, and execute these improvements and developments at Fred Wolf Park as a whole. Realistically speaking, this would take at least a couple of years, and it is during these years that I'm offering to serve on the Fred Wolf Park Committee to meet the needs of the residents of Orange and their growing families. I'd also like to make you aware that I am not knowledgeable or experienced with the game of soccer. My children, however, enjoy this game, and therefore I am advocating for them. I do have extensive knowledge and experience with agriculture and animal science. I completely understand the use of that land and how important it is to the farmer. But I feel that it's more important to provide the residents of Orange with a suitable athletic field as well as a park for the residents to enjoy, where they don't have to go to other towns to do that. And I'm just asking that I be considered to serve on that committee when it comes time to.
I read the email this afternoon,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm glad you read it. Thank you.
And the whole group,
Does
like,
it?
different people might say, oh, how about this person or that person? So that's
Okay.
generally how their ideas gel.
Great. Thank you.
Nope, that lady was next. Sorry, Al.
Hello, everyone. Corey Kachera, 850 Tall Timber Road. I came to talk about myself again because it's still important. I wanted to share that last season I spent 4.5 hours per week walking the fields of Red Wolf Park because my kids had 3 nights a week of practice, 1.5 hours per night. This season it's 6 hours, Monday through Thursday, 1.5 hours per night. I'm there walking the fields with my dogs because there's not much else to do. The fields are beautiful, I said that before. I wanted to share that I used my own money last spring, and at the Racebrook School Mother's Day plant sale, I bought about $100 worth of mums, and I put them in giant planters, and I put them at Fred Wolf Park because I'm proud of our town in the bicentennial, and they were nice and orange. I also brought a lost and found bin, and I put it at the park last season. I collected all the lost and found. I dried it out so, those sweatshirts that fall in the field didn't rot. I took it all to Goodwill. This season, you can go out. You can see the lost and found bin. That's mine. And I'll take it back to Goodwill at the end of this season, too. I'm sharing this because I was offended at the last meeting after the open part when it was insinuated and is on record that the only reason people were here is because Tom Pisano got our ear. I am here because I care, and I'm here because I spend time on those fields, and I love my children, and I want to be proud of this town. And I'll repeat the question that I asked at the last meeting. What are you going to do to support our children and the sports complex? Do you want me to pass this around when I go back?
No, they do it up there.
Thank you.
I think I'm doing it a little bit quicker tonight, just so you know. As far as support your children, I think that's going to be what's going to be in the up and coming as it evolves, as Mrs. Persano had said earlier, as this committee evolves and they look into it. So that's where that question will be answered with time. I think it would be premature at this moment to say you're going to have whether soccer, badminton, tennis, racquetball. At this moment, that's not there, but it will be with time. Yes? Oh, Al, yeah, you were next.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to speak again this year. You may remember that I did speak regarding the flooding issues on Old Country Road and Coachman's Lane.
All right, stop.
Okay.
That is item item 2 on the agenda. So if that's your topic, you will be welcome to come back up at that point.
Okay,
All right?
very good.
All right. But now we'll know. Okay. You were next, yeah.
Erica Higgins, 303 Drummond Road. First off, on the heels of election night, I'd like to thank the board for your public service. You all do a great job. So I know last night and all the hours everybody put in, it did not go unnoticed. I'm here also in addition with other people from the town as a mom and to follow up on last month's meeting. There are so many people in this town that want to get involved. And Mr. Zioli, I think our email earlier this week with my research and trying to put the best step forward and trying to get grant money to improve some things in regards to facilities for the town of Orange. Per the lease that we currently have with Fieldview Farm property of Fred Wolf Park, based on that lease, the land needed to be cleared by October 15th of 2022. On October 22nd, I was at my son's soccer game at 9 a.m. at Fred Wolf Park, and the land was being cleared, and it had not been cleared Friday evening when my son was practicing. Some people the following morning at my son's practice, unbeknownst to me, actually filmed the person who was tractoring through the property. Based on that, the lease was violated. So that's one part of my concern. The second is in regards to ordinances that we do have within the town. Ordinance 294-10 says designation of a passive open space. Fred Wolf Park, not dedicated to the rec open space, is one of those areas. Section 294-12, prohibited activities on passive open space. The use of cars, dune buggies, motorcycles, snowmobiles, trucks, and other motorized vehicles. Tractors are motorized. Section 294-11, designation or removal of a passive open space. The Board of Selectmen may by resolution designate any town-owned land as a passive open space or remove designation of passive open space from any town-owned land so designated or authorized activities otherwise prohibited or disallow any activities allowed pursuant, I'm not a lawyer, to this article on any or more parcels of land. Activities permitted with consent. This one, obviously there is a lease, so that's where I thought that this would come into play. The following activities shall be prohibited without written approval of the Orange Park and Rec Commission or its designated official. Possession of alcohol, camping, lighting a campfire, camp stove or lanterns, planting, cutting, removing, or disturbing any shrub or vegetation, and vending or peddling items. So based on those couple things, I understand there is a lease. I have gone and started a petition within the town, or within myself and support of the town. We have over 230 signatures on change.org to terminate the lease effective December, so that we have 180 days notice to the leasee, so that we can start making a plan for next June to start turning over the land and creating a park. So I ask the board to please look to terminate this contract for the benefit and development of the Orange facilities. Thank you.
Yes. Here.
She took her pen.
Did you take the pen?
No, I think it fell, and then I didn't realize it.
Oh, it
I got it. It's just my husband. He can pick it up. It's on record, I know.
Okay.
I love you.
On camera.
It is.
Peter Higgins, 303 Drummond Road. First of all, to the board, thank you for your service to this community. It is a wonderful community that we live in. Last month, I had some questions regarding the fields at Fred Wolf Park and have some follow-up questions based upon the responses from that night. As discussed at the October Board of Selectmen meetings, question regarding your entertainment of creating a committee to review the plans of the Fred Wolf Playground, entrance, exit, safety, etc. If you haven't discussed that yet, why not? And do you intend to move forward with this committee within the next 30 days to be reviewed at the next meeting in December? Has the board reviewed the lease agreement for the fields at Fred Wolf Park? I mean, let's be honest. If the lease is renewed, the ability to create a safe and proper site for families of Orange is moot. It really just comes down to, do we have that land available to us as a town and resident taxpayers to make it the place we'd like for our kids and families? Has the board reviewed the safety of residents adjacent to the Oakview entrance? I know it was brought up that there's definite concern with residents on Hollow Road. I would have to imagine that the same concerns of the residents on Rosebud and Oakview. Have you budgeted for speed humps as well there? That straightaway coming off of Spruce, making a right on Oakview certainly could be of issue. Unrelated to Fred Wolf Park, one other quick thing. You had mentioned that there are committees, commissions, other things where there's opportunities for volunteering. Within the town of Orange, vacancies on other town services. I spoke with your administrator today, and she was nice enough to share there about 5 to 10 current listings. So I'll be sharing those with folks that I know who are interested in volunteering in the town, but just didn't know quite how to do it. Question with regard to that, is it possible to update the process by which residents can review the needs of the town on the town website? It seems that we're quite candidly behind the times in our ability to communicate effectively via a main town platform. And while that is a rather broad topic, I wasn't sure if that was something the board had addressed that limitation recently. Thank you.
I can't answer the website one because that's managed for us. They could probably look into, all of your committees should be listed, and vacancies when they appear could be listed as far as that. Safety Oak View was considered. I wasn't happy about putting that other driveway out there. The Pine Tree driveway was supposed to be the be-all, end-all, but when that was determined that it didn't work, we went this way. And yes, we did talk with, actually, one of the neighbors has since passed away. And the neighbor on the other side of the driveway is very close to where you're standing right now. And they're aware of it, and a couple of the others in that area we have spoken to. And if it proves that there's other safety initiatives required with that, they will be considered and undertaken the same as we did on Hollow Road. So it's unknown at this moment.
Thank you.
Yep. Next. Tom, I think you're up.
Thank you. I'm a regular. Thank you all. Tom Paisano, 523 Fairway Road, Orange, Connecticut. Fairway. Okay, last meeting I was here, and unfortunately I was being bullied, so I walked out. But I now understand why. Okay, I understand that the person that was doing it didn't have a clue about what had happened at Fred Wolf Park. The history of Fred Wolf Park started in 1999. Selectmen at that point was Bob Souza and Mitch Goldblatt and others. And of course, they had the details. So what really happened there was it started off 1999, 1998, and onward. And at one point, there was money coming in from cell towers. $50,000 came in. Bob Souza put half of that. He was going to give it all to the baseball field. I fought for half of it. It went to soccer and to baseball. But simultaneously, Mitch, Ralph, they were on the committee at the time, and everybody should remember this. Soccer ended up paying half of everything. We built the shed. We built half of the fencing. We paid $10,000 for soccer goals, and that continued. From 2000 to 2022, we have an average of $4,000 a year that Orange Soccer pays. The kids pay for it, that pay well, there's $50, $80 a game. Not a game, a year at Mariel Tracy. They are the ones that are paying for this. That's ridiculous. The town should pay for this. We can do a better job. But what really irritates is the fact that you people knew this. And the reason, I guess, nothing gets done or nothing is said to correct the statements is because I can see you can't respond. The only thing that can be done at this meeting is the response has to be an agenda item. And guess what? Only one person puts the agenda. We want to hear from all your selectmen on your opinion of these issues, not just your first selectman. Okay? So what can we do? All we can do is to continue to hammer at this thing and try to get something apparently on an agenda, which is not on tonight's agenda, so we won't be talking about it. And you're going to ring your bell in a minute, which is just more irritating that you don't want to hear what really is coming down. The last thing I have to say is that if we are going to lease out these cornfields again, I'm going to bid the cornfields. I want to know the date, time. I want it to be posted on the Orange website. We want to be able to see if everyone else wants to bid it, I will bid it. I can follow, I'm insured, I can follow all the lease agreements, I got it, I read it, and we will farm it, okay? If that's what we're going to do, that's ridiculous. Let's do something right. Let's get it on the agenda so we can talk about this. And everyone should be talking about it, not just the first selectman. I'm going to sit down. He's going to give you a tremendous rebuttal, and I hope it's not belittling my comments.
Okay, is there anybody else at the table that has anything? Anybody else in the audience?
Okay, first of all, my name is Dee Dee Lieboff. I live at 660 Broadview Road. I've lived there since 1985. Jim, you're an elected official. You're a paid civil servant, and you shouldn't be listening to and responding to people. You don't respond to people who have genuine concerns, and I'm talking about from meetings before. This is the first time I've heard you respond, and it troubles me. About the recreational facilities that all of us want for our children and our grandchildren. I heard you say you would think about a committee, which Erica Higgins suggested. It's not on the agenda today, and more importantly, the response should have been, of course, not I'll think about it. A playground committee met one time publicly. A location had been chosen already, and yet at that time, many of the committee had never been to the selected site for the playground. Who chose the site? The third issue that I have is that Fred Wolf Park was supposed to be utilized for passive recreation. How does a cornfield fit into that description? Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody at the table? Mitchell?
Since I was called out by Mr. Pisano, I think I will respond. And I think it's incumbent upon this board, and I mentioned at the last meeting as well, that we take a look at the entire process. And the process is looking at Fred Wolf Park and also how it's being utilized, for what purposes, and who's in charge. Because, we've heard, differing viewpoints of differing people of, well, the selectmen make the decision, the first selectman makes the decision, the Park and Recreation Commission makes the decision, Orange Soccer Association makes the decision. And I think we just need to have a better understanding of how we're going to develop this acreage. And so, as I said the last meeting, Jim, I hope we do put together a committee. I hope you will appoint a committee. By your last meeting, I hope it is by the next meeting, that we can have names in front of us that by virtue of the way this works with committees, as people may or may not know, the first selectman will put together names of a committee, and this board only has the power to basically overturn that. So if we don't agree with any one or all of the people of the committee, they basically are appointed by the first selectman, it's the way the charter works, unless overturned by the board. So the questions that have been raised already tonight by a few people indicating they'd like to be on the committee, and I put this out there for anyone else who's watching on OGAT, that if this is something you would like to be a part of and think you could be beneficial to, I do urge you, like the others have already done, to notify the first selectman's office of your interest and maybe what expertise you bring. Somebody last time spoke about some engineering expertise. I think that's great to have that, different people on such a committee if it is indeed appointed. And I think, to Tom and anybody else who's asking the question, we will respond. And I think we will respond, in such a way as a board. Certainly the first selectman can speak for himself, but as a board to go forward with a plan for this park, which I think we all know there was a plan. It wasn't implemented for varying reasons, and we need a new plan. And that way we can all follow it. We can all know the direction, whatever it's going to be, what do we put there, and where on the property it'll be placed. And I hope we do have a lot of participation, both from the committee, and I hope that committee holds open meetings to get even more input from the public. Because not everybody can serve on a committee, but certainly a lot of people, just like you are tonight, can come to a committee meeting such as ours to express your viewpoints. Thanks.
I think the engineers usually have a public participation input sessions. So, anybody else?
Sorry to cut you off.
Okay, we got a few more things. We lost, unfortunately, two of our good people in town, both, I think they were both veterans, but one was 102. He was our honored veteran a couple of years ago, Mr. Rapini. 102 he made it to, and he was a pretty sharp guy. He was, I think, going to the casino till not too long ago. And Ms. Brad Gessler, both very involved in this community for a lot of years, and unfortunately, both of them have passed us, both in this last 2 weeks. So our thoughts are with those families. Veterans Day is this Friday, November 11th. The town offices will be closed, and the veterans ceremony is at 11 o'clock on Friday. Well, it says at the Orange Remembrance Memorial, which is the flagpoles and walkway in front of High Plains, but Mother Nature, it looks like it may be indoors in the gymnasium this year, unfortunately. We'll won't know that for sure until it comes, but maybe we'll skid by it before the weather changes. But that's at 11 on Friday at High Plains. They still have bricks available. That committee started a commemorative brick program there with that walkway, and I think there's still forms in the first selectman's office. For that, they're $100 each, and you put the person's name and their rank and their years of service to the whatever branch of the military that they served in, and they get fit into that walkway, and it's there for ever and ever, I guess, after that. Tuesday, November 15th, from 2 to 6 p.m., the OVNA is running the flu clinic and a COVID booster clinic simultaneously. Will be held at High Plains Community Center. No appointments are necessary. For more information, call the Orange Visiting Nurse Association at 203-891-4752. The Orange Economic Development is holding their holiday market on Thursday, November 17th at the Pavilion at the Fairgrounds by High Plains from 3:30 to 6:30. I know they have some craft vendors and all different kinds of things for the holiday season. Thursday, November 24th is Thanksgiving Day. Town offices and the transfer station will be closed on Thanksgiving Day. Friday, all town offices will be closed, but the transfer station is open from 8 to 4:30 that day. The recycling schedule for that week of November 21st, which is the week of Thanksgiving, Tuesday and Wednesday will be picked up on their normal days, but Thursday and Friday are going to be picked up on Saturday. Friday and Saturday. Yeah, Friday and Saturday. They will pick up Thursday. Bins must be out by 6 a.m. Sunday, December 4th is the holiday festival. It's always the first Sunday in December. I know they're doing things at the Congregational Church, the Tree on the Green, the parade. I think the parade goes through, I think they come from Wolf Park now, up Meeting House Lane, I think about 4:15, 4:30. So if you want to see that, you need to be somewhere between the Green and High Plains Fairgrounds, I guess is your safest bet. And if you want to see Santa Claus, you have to be at the Green. So if you're doing multiples of those, I guess it's best to be on the Green to cover all the bases with those. Also today is the anniversary of broken glass, and it commemorates the breaking into homes and all, the beginning of the Nazi regime in Germany, Austria, and atrocities that happened there. So today is that anniversary, and it's horrific and something that people should never forget. So I remember several years ago, I attended the presentation on it down at Or Shalom. It was very, very enlightening and moving, both. Mitchell.
Jim, it's a good segue that this Sunday, the what's called Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass program will be at Or Shalom. It'll be on Zoom. People can register with Or Shalom or the actually Jewish Federation online. It'll be a very moving program presented once again by Rabbi Wainhouse, and it is celebrating those who helped, and it's from Ukraine. It has a very interesting Ukrainian connection this year that Rabbi Wainhouse has put together. So for those that are interested in that, it's a great program, and you can just zoom in on Sunday morning. While I've got the mic, a couple other quick things to announce. At the craft fair and the holiday festival will be our last shots at purchasing bicentennial items. There's only a few things left. Got some hats, some pins, and children's T-shirts. And the large flags are still available as well. And at both those places, we'll also be selling the raffle tickets for the quilt, which will be raffled off at the holiday festival just before the tree lighting. First Selectman Zeoli will choose the winning ticket.
Oh, I'm choosing that.
Yeah, you're doing that. Yeah, because you can make everybody else mad. And then I just want to, as the yesterday's head moderator, I want to thank everyone for a very smooth and successful election process yesterday. Everything went very well that I could tell, and I want to thank all the poll workers, certainly all the voters, all the poll workers. Public Works helped out quite a bit. The police department was a presence, which was there, and especially our two registrars, Janice Casey and Val Spinacy, for all their help. So, and congratulations to those who won, and thank you for those that didn't win, because it's what makes our democracy work.
I think they said this morning, Janice told me, I think it was a 60.
65.
I think it turned out to be a little more.
65 to 66%
Participation.
turnout for the town of Orange.
How does that compare to other years?
Hard to say. It's less than the presidential. I think, I didn't check, but I think it's a little bit larger than we've had in the midterms in the past. And
It was good, though.
it was good. It was very, I tell you, it was very steady. We were able to, improve some things that maybe people remember from 2 years ago when we had very long lines in the beginning. We made some changes, some improvements that kept those lines moving and kept them pretty short. And I thank everybody for their participation and patience when they had to be. And it just went really smooth. And I'm very, very thankful.
Our machines all worked.
And the machines all worked.
We didn't have any snafus.
No, they all worked. They're all tested.
The
They all
complaint I
worked.
got was some of the booth locations were hard for people to see to fill in their circles. But
Well, I hope that wasn't. In
that's
the,
the
I hope
biggest-
that wasn't in the gymnasium, because I want to thank Mr. Britton, who's in the audience. We have the brand new floor in the gymnasium and the new lighting, which I've often complained about, and especially election day. The lighting was very well lit in
this was in the room.
in the gymnasium, but the other rooms, I'm not sure. Yeah.
But you know what? If that was the biggest of our problems, we did okay. Okay, minutes. To consider and act upon the minutes of the October 12th, 2022 meeting. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections? If so, state page and paragraph.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Yeah, unanimous. Okay. Ann wasn't here either. Okay, under new business. Item number 1 is to consider and act on a new contract for the town of Orange and the Orange Board of Education for an electricity supplier. Both Mr. Katz and Mr. Cifarelli are in the room. Mr. Katz is the representative of the contract that's before you there. You two going to come up and speak to your, and I saw an email just before I came down here from John that the prices held from what was provided in here. Okay.
Right. Well, we do this every 3 years.
Yes.
Our contract is up right in the middle of December. We put it out as an estimate what it will be, because we need to come to you guys first, and we've given you an estimate of what the price is going to be. It's quite a bit more than what we're currently paying, and we're a little upset over that. And then over the weekend, behold, I left an article in front of you today about Eversource. And Eversource, their rate is going up from 11 cents per kilowatt to somewhere around 22 cents starting on January 1. UI probably will follow the same suit, so consider 21, 22 compared to 13 and a half, which we're getting sounds pretty good at this point. So we're looking for your approval to go out to bid tomorrow morning or to finalize the contract at this price. It may go up a little bit tomorrow, or it may go down, it's a commodity. This is also for the schools. We do it for the schools also. Yeah.
Can I just ask, usually I wouldn't even ask this question, do you know how this compares to the UI standard rate? And the reason I ask is 'cause I was actually showing somebody the other day how to save on their electric bill by going to the website and checking the rates, and lo and behold, for the first time ever, UI was less, their standard rate was less than the other rates that were being given, which made me pause to what I'm paying now.
What's the UI standard rate now, like 10
I thought it was
something?
11.
Yeah, we're
no,
paying.
Mine was
10?
Mine was 10.13, I think.
Yeah,
Okay, so
somewhere
my
around that.
question is, are we doing, at this point, locking in with something, I mean, I would always, ever since, things got broken up, would always push to not go with the standard rate, but is the standard rate less right now, is the question?
Right now, it's less than what we're bidding. But
Yeah.
we're paying only 8 cents a kilowatt right now under our current contract.
Right, but we're going out on a contract now.
January 1,
I see.
UI is
You wanna
going
answer?
up.
You want to answer?
I can answer that question.
Go ahead.
So the way United Illuminating works.
Use the
The
microphone.
way United I'm Rick Katz, by the way. Hello. Can I just interject 1 second? Thanks, both of you, for bringing up what you discussed before, the Holocaust. and
Oh,
that
thank
kind
you.
of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
My last name's Katz, so. That's all. Anyways, getting back to your question is that the way electricity is priced from utilities is every 6 months.
Okay.
So you saw a big bump in your summer rates because July 1st is when they do it. The next bump, which they haven't announced, but we kind of know where it's going to be, comes January 1st. So there's no change, to answer your question, until January 1st. I can give you 10 reasons, and you'll agree with most of them because they're things that we all know, why they're going to be much higher than the rate we went to. What we do is we go out to the market. The difference between this time and our last contract, the amount of suppliers has dwindled, as you can imagine. It's all the small boutique places we used to try to work with, and sometimes they'll help you. They're out of business.
Okay.
Because they can't handle these large influxes. Their shareholders are not getting what they're supposed to get. So, again, that's an economic thing, but January 1st, you'll all see on your UI bill in orange, you're going to be shocked. It's the highest. I've been doing this for 20 years. This will be the highest I've ever seen. Okay?
So if I can interject with you for a second, thank you, Rick. So are we actually locking in this 1.135 for a period of time, 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can't lock in UI for that.
There is no lock for
There
UI.
is no lock in.
You
So
pay,
whatever-
what I was saying is
Yeah.
you pay
Okay.
market rate.
Okay.
What they do is they go out and purchase for their users that are left.
They're not generators anymore.
No, they're not
They're
generators.
distributors.
They're distributors. And if you saw in the news, what we work with you guys is on the generation. There's two parts of your bill, obviously, and the utilities still control the distribution. That's the lines. That's the stuff that they do. Tree cutting.
Which is about 2/3 of the bill.
It used to be 50-50. See, it's kind of weird. That one's going up, which we as citizens don't have control over for our, but it's about 70-30 now. And they just announced well, they're talking about it, a 5 and a 5 increase. That's on the distribution, which none of us, the only way any of us could control that is reducing our usage, doing all these new energy-saving things at our house, potentially solar, blah, blah, blah. In terms of the generation cost, there's not a darn thing any of us can do about it. It's a commodity. And everything you guys have been seeing, when there's a commodity, doesn't show us that there's going to be any, at least for 2 years, any retreat in this market. We're at natural gas, the highest we've seen since 2012. In 2020, natural gas, 1 month, I think it was April, traded at 1.75. We're close to $7 right now.
Wow.
So you guys all know what you're paying for oil, if you have oil. I have oil. I live in Woodbridge. You know what you're paying for your gasoline, okay? And again, we can go through a whole litany of reasons, but we all see it here. And so this is a chance to say to a great town like yours, say, All right, at least we know, okay? God forbid the price goes through the roof, we're okay. I should never say this because I don't have a crystal ball, but when January rates are announced, you'll all be very pleased with the decision you made.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other, Ralph?
Have those higher rates been approved by the PURA?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chris?
Because again, it's a commodity. The utility's actually going out to market, just like I did for Orange, to purchase. The difference is, there's no reason for them to do what we do to try to get the best pricing and all that, because whatever price they give, anyone who's not in a contract has to pay it if they want electricity, okay? Most of your big corporations have contracts. So again, another reason is that they're not out purchasing the grand scale they used to before deregulation. And again, they purchased throughout this 6-month period. Well, guess what's happened in the 6-month period? We all see that. So I hope that answered your question.
I have a quick question.
PJ.
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you both for being here, first of all. Based on everything you just said, with this being historically high prices, is there any benefit for us to lock in at a shorter duration, maybe 1 year or 2 years, and then reevaluating at that point instead of locking in at a historic level for 3 years?
It's a great question. And
We looked at that, too.
the way commodities work, when you're buying out on a contract, you're taking advantage of futures,
Right.
which are lower than the current. And that's why you're getting the lower price. If you do a 1-year contract, yeah,
It was 15 and change. If we did 48 months, it was 13.65. If we did 12 months, it was 16 cents and change. We even talked about not locking in at all and going with UI's, whatever their rate was.
But, no,
and we
I think the
decided
lock-in is a good
against
idea.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering,
yeah, there's been, to answer your question with clients, I've been doing this a long time, there have been markets where I certainly would tell a client, you know what, let's just wait and see what's going on. Because we track it 24 hours a day. Let's just wait and see what goes on. We see what's going on here, and it's crazy to pay that much. I mean, you're going to be lower than the utility rates when they come out in
For your
1
home.
year, but you guys use about 6 million kilowatt hours. It's $180,000 a year by going with the 1 year compared to the 3 year. That's a lot of money.
right.
That's a lot of money. I know in a city, especially, with the challenges y'all have.
And we've done a lot of savings here in town, Jim, with the street
Right.
lights. We saved
Converting
$25,000 a
everything
year.
to
on
LED
things
and
like that.
upgrades, programs.
You guys are on top of things, you really are. And it's great.
Try.
Yeah.
That answer you? Or
Yeah.
is it what you
That's-
want to hear, or just?
Not really.
I can tell by your expression, it's not really the answer you were hoping.
This was a lot easier when electricity was 7 cents a couple of years ago. You walk in, 7 cents? I'm in.
I mean, I felt good 3 years ago when we
I
came
know.
in at
Yeah.
about the
I
same
remember when it was
price.
Yeah, I
8
mean,
cents. That's
Can we
not
get
that
some
long
hamster
ago.
I
wheels?
think, Judy, at the time, you said it's pretty good when it's not going up.
Yeah.
Consider that a win.
But, we all see it in our everyday lives. And so, and again, electricity is a commodity. And there's so
gonna go
many
up.
reasons why it's up right now, okay? And there's also reasons why I don't see it going down in the near term. Do any of us see any changes in the next 2 years?
Miracles?
We fix things in Ukraine, helps rather quickly.
That's number one on my 10 bullet point list I would read to you if you guys wanted to get bored.
Well, it's a natural gas problem.
Yeah. I mean, storage levels, which is really a key indicator, because it's a commodity, it's economics, it's supply and demand, have historically never been this high, low. And so obviously when storage is low, again, supply and demand, why is storage low? Well, We stopped a lot of the fracking. Most of the drillers have said, screw it, we can't make any money. You got the pipeline constraints, which is a whole nother cost. And you've got such demand overseas. Okay, so we're taking our stuff because we make so much money on it.
We've been selling our own inventory. Yeah.
Right.
It's
So
going
all
overseas.
these, it's a perfect storm that unfortunately we have to deal with, and it kind of stinks because it's not our fault. You know what I mean? We didn't do anything different than we did 2 years ago. You know? But again,
Okay. Questions? More? John from Mr. Katz? Are you okay with it?
Yeah, Jim, it says the motion to lock in, I mean, it just says, the agenda item says the act on a new contract, but I don't know exactly how you want to phrase this. Is this with Constellation New Energy? Is that what we're looking for?
Yes.
I would say, yes, make the motion.
yeah,
with
they were the lowest.
Yeah.
They're your current supplier as well, so
Okay.
obviously it's a business. If you're a current supplier, they don't want to lose you. So that usually helps the incumbent. It doesn't always happen. In the old days with so many suppliers, it didn't happen because people wanted the business. Nowadays,
All right, so I make a
Make the
motion
to Constellation,
for a 3-year term?
3-year term.
3-year term
as provided.
as our electricity supplier as provided in the contract that's been made available to us.
That's good.
That fixed rate.
Second to that?
Second.
Any other discussion on that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous.
thank you.
All right.
Your explanation, it's great.
If
Thank you.
anybody has any more questions, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but you can get a hold of Jim and I'll talk to you anytime, because that's what I
Don't
do
worry.
24 hours.
All
a
those
day.
homeowners over there are wondering if you do it on short scale.
You know what? I looked up today, 3-year contract with Direct Energy, 3-year contract, $16.99
For a homeowner.
for a homeowner. $16.99. I locked mine in for 3 years at $8.99. I feel like a hero. I don't do residential because
It's volatile.
you don't need to pay me when you can go online and do it yourself.
We'll all have our lanterns lit pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, we're a little afraid of that, actually. The fire department is very concerned with lanterns, candles, poorly installed wood stoves, space heaters in strips. The fire department is very in tune with all that this year. They're very concerned. So,
I worry for the elderly.
I worry.
For us all.
Well, all of it, because you think about it, between groceries, gas in your car, oil, they tell me today was somewhere between, depending who you're with, $5.20 to $5.90 for your house. How are people, I don't know. I went to Big Y the other night, 3 bags was $117, and there wasn't a lot there. All right. To consider and act on design costs, culvert replacement projects, Old Country Road, Coachman's, and Pine Tree Peck Lane. Now it's your turn.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to discuss it first.
Yeah, it's strange, and I think I said this before. If you go to Amity, they make you get up at the public participation and talk about any topic that's on the agenda at the beginning. In the Orange Board of Selectmen, we let you talk about that topic when we come to it.
Oh, okay.
You're on.
Fine. Al Bucknall, I'm at 439 Old Country Road for the past 45 years, and I'm speaking for some of my neighbors who are part of an issue that's been very difficult for us for many years. But if I can just introduce some of the folks who are here in the audience.
Sure.
Byung Kang, Mike and Terry Kozik, let's see, John Altieri and Tom Saxa. There's 8 families who live in basically the floodplain on Old Country Road and Coachman's Lane. And for a number of years, we have faced flooding issues, perhaps not as significant as this past year in July and September, when we had these 2 rainstorms of almost 10 inches, which were, and one of them was a 100-year storm, as determined by our consultants. And as a result, we suffered tremendous damages to all our homes, whether it was in our basements, property, and so on. And some of this, as you may remember from my prior presentation, without getting into a lot of detail, but I'm also here just to thank Jim Zioli, the Board of Selectmen and Finance, and Bob Brinton for your help in putting this, taking our concerns seriously and hiring a consultant, Cardinal Associates, who have been very helpful. Bob Brinton has arranged for us to meet with the consultants, and they've gotten our inputs for some of our concerns, what's happened, and they were very receptive, and then developed a very thorough plan that we heartily endorse, particularly for our streets, Old Country Road and Coachman's. What they found was, and their recommendation is that they would like to replace these undersized 24-inch culverts with larger box culverts. For instance, on Old Country Road, they're 24-inch, which would be replaced by a larger box culvert that's 12 feet by 3 feet, which would be a significant increase in the throughput. And based on Cardinal's assessment, these new culverts would likely prevent flooding on both streets. And this hopefully would avoid the catastrophe of the flooding damage we encountered in those storms last July and September. So basically, we're here today to respectfully request that your board will adopt the recommendations of Cardinal Associates and approve the funding needed to implement these projects immediately before we face another catastrophic storm that we saw just in 2021.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bucknell?
Oh, appreciate it.
Did he speak for everybody, or does anybody else want to? He's good. Good job. All right. Now, what we're approving tonight is, originally when you came to that other meeting, you saw their approximates that night that the man stood here and gave the presentations on the 3 locations. So then they've worked up actual prices, and both of them hover around $80,000 for engineering work for this one, Old Country Coachman, and then the other one is Pine Tree Peck Lane. There's 2 separate ones we're working on. What we're approving tonight is to approve Cardinal Engineering that we will pay them X number of dollars to design these 2 projects. So that's the next step. I was over there today. I was actually on both projects today. And I think that the neighborhoods themselves, we're replacing the parts that go under the roads, and badly needed. I mean, they're fieldstone walls that somebody had built. They look very nice, but badly needed. And they're going to be replaced and be similar to the culvert that was upgraded that goes under Treat Lane. So they'll be the same as that. But what I noticed was a tremendous amount of trees and brush and growth in the drainage ways where it crosses under Old Country, and then it goes down along somebody's house, and then it goes around back, and there's a lot of trees and stuff this size, and some stones, and people find them sometimes a good place to put their leaves and stuff. That needs to be, if it's any of your yards, I don't want to offend you, but you need to clean it, because that's what's holding the water up. And then when I went into the other road there, I guess that's Coachman's on that side, the house, Al, that used to be Hummel's right on the corner. Yeah. So the brook is kind of behind them. There's a stone this big that somebody rolled right into the middle of it. And it's only, it's not as far as from me to where you guys are sitting, off the street. It's really closer than that, maybe from me to the chair. I mean,
the stream or?
it's right in the middle of the stream, just up from the pipe. So I mean, that, somebody should get that out of there. It's on private property, so, and we can't reach it, so we can't do it, but, that brookway should be kept clean to keep the water moving. And when I saw this big stone right in the middle of it, I'm like, geez, that's kind of a little bit of a minor dam right there. But, so and the Pine Tree Drive one, there's not as much exposed area that we have to clean. It's mostly behind, two houses on, Hawthorne Lane. But also there's a lot of trees and brush. It needs to be cleaned up, and removed from the waterway so that water can keep moving also. But I mean, that's very important to keep that, because you get a wad of, leaves and a couple branches that broke off your trees, hit that pipe at Coachman's there, you guys are all done. It's going to block up that pipe and just back the water. Now, they're saying we may get a couple inches Friday night into Saturday morning early. In the town of Orange, and I hate to say this, but in the town of Orange, if we get more than 3 inches of water in a period of less than 5 hours, we have flooding. And they're predicting this to be just overnight, Friday night to Saturday morning. So you want to make sure that brookway is clean of sticks and stuff that might flow down and block the pipes there, just as a helpful thought. But I was on both sites this afternoon just to look at it because I knew it was on the agenda. So with that said, you have, yes, Mitchell?
A couple questions here.
Go ahead.
So we're approving tonight the engineering costs for
The
Cardinal.
engineering costs, and then those are what go out to bid.
Okay, and then we're looking at the projected total cost. We don't have a total cost yet, even though we got projections.
For the engineering?
No, for the actual work.
Oh, we don't have that
Actual
yet.
work, yeah.
You won't have that till you go out
Right.
to bid.
And so, have we decided upon, because you've got specific numbers here, have we, or Cardinal, or you decided upon which, remember they gave us a number of alternatives? Which alternative we're gonna be quoting on? Are we gonna quote on all of them, or?
They're gonna quote on all of them
Okay.
because the reason you want to put those into the quote,
Yep.
and Bob explained this to me, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, I forget. If you don't have it in the bid, then the contractor can come back at you for extras.
Okay.
And the extras generally are a lot more than if you have it in there and they put a price on it when they were bidding. They may not have to do it.
Well, that's fine. The question is that we're gonna still go out and get, so what Cardinal's gonna do is they're gonna do all this engineering work and then go out and do the bid documents
And then we'll bid.
for the different options.
The options will probably be like an addendum
Okay.
page.
And
yeah.
then we'll determine which options we're gonna go with based on the cost and based on the recommendations of
Of
Cardinal.
Cardinal and
Okay.
Bob, correct.
Okay. Are there any of the, are there any of the recommendations that we're just not gonna do no matter what, that we shouldn't bother even spending the time engineering or quoting?
I'll let Bob answer that, because he's sat with Joe and team.
Because there was
Joe and
quite a
Gary.
few variations and some real divergent costs. I don't know if some are,
Yeah, for the two neighborhoods that we're talking about tonight, I think they were a little more straightforward. We did look at some options, like just putting in instead of 24-inch pipes, 36-inch pipes. That have been something that was thought of. It doesn't help significantly, so we're not going to pursue that. The other neighborhood that we haven't gotten to yet, Brookside and Glenbrook, is much more complicated. The whole, if you remember, the whole plethora of alternatives. So that neighborhood hasn't been determined exactly what way to proceed. But the ones we looked into and don't solve the problem, we're not going to pursue those.
I'll talk about the other one in a second a little bit. But anyhow, so that's what it is.
you want a motion?
So a motion, please, for Cardinal Engineering for these two projects.
Okay, a motion to approve the design costs with Cardinal Engineering for Old Country and Coachman's Lane at $79,100, and for Pine Tree Drive and Peck Lane for $87,600.
Yep. Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion on that?
Nope, good.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
Let it go.
I was saying it to Mitchell before the meeting started. The Glenbrook, Brookside one was the one they said somewhere between 3.3 to 3.8 to build the job. Well, we've had a time change, and I'm normally a 5 o'clock person, but lately it's been a 4 o'clock person because of the time change. So I'm lying there in bed thinking about this flooding thing, because I knew it was on the agenda, and all of a sudden a light bulb came on for the Brookside Glenbrook one, because we're looking at tearing down a railroad trestle, putting a bigger culvert through it, rebuilding a railroad trestle. That alone was $1 million job, that part. Sending it down under Derby Milford Road, through 2 properties, going under Derby Milford, through 2 properties, under High Ridge, into the river, and away it goes. So I'm thinking about it, laying there, and I said, how about if we put a big pipe from where it breaks out of the ground by what would be the right side of Glenbrook Road, and have a big bleed-off pipe, a 3 or 4 foot cement pipe, and go from there right down Glenbrook Road, under Derby Milford Road, to the brook where it's going anyhow. And we're not going to possibly ruin anybody else's houses, yards, train trestles, no reconstruction, nothing. So I call Bob. Bob comes in my office, and I said, well, I got an idea. And I told him what I just said to you, and he just sat there and he looked at me. I don't know if he felt sorry for me or what, but, well, it might work. But are you going to tell the engineers? So I called the engineers today, and I told them, and I think they thought it was a little bit different, but you know, the other estimate is 3.3 to 3.8, so what do we got to lose? I mean, so they're going to do some preliminary work on that and get back to Bob and see if going down the street, which we own, and there's no public water in that street, there's no sewers in that street, there's no natural gas in that street. So it's not bad, but there's a real deep dig in one part of it. So if we can make it through that, it could save us $1 million or more, which, I mean, we sit here and talk about $1 million like you're going out to lunch. I mean, it sometimes boggles me a little bit. Okay, item number 3. Yeah, cats left, otherwise we could have gone to the deli, sorry. To consider and act on a request to authorize the first selectman on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to execute the fiscal year 22 Homeland Security Grant Program for Region 2 Memorandum of Agreement, which we do yearly. Good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So that one we've done before. I think it's pretty standard. Any questions on that one? If not, is there a motion?
Motion approved.
All right. All right, a second made. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Item number 4. This one has been stuck in Mrs. Williams. Wilson, I keep saying, Wrights Pond Craw there, Judy Williams. The sign is in poor shape over there at Wrights Pond. And so she went out and tracked down who made the other signs at the other properties, and got the pricing and all. And we have a fund that we get interest revenue from every year, the Richard Wright Fund. It's relatively new. We've gotten disbursements from it twice so far, from the Richard Wright Fund, from the New Haven Foundation. And so there's money there to pay for this sign. So Judy, why don't you go from there?
Well,
I'm talking too much.
I think, you know, to get it in harmony with all the other signs, he's going to yell at me. Okay, to make it so that it's very similar to all the other signs that have been put up in town. Plus, the design I think is clean. It's going to be brighter. I've spoken with Sue and Tom Diorso, and we had a long conversation because that whole planting and stuff in the beginning was done by Brian Diorso.
Yep.
And that was his Eagle Scout project. So I brought them in to have a chat, and they were very supportive and very pleased that I had called them. So it was, it was definitely a thing to do. And I think moving the sign out a little bit, because of course the trees and the shrub behind have been growing. So, I think that's going to be something so that it be quite visible. So if it looks good, I'd like to propose that we do it.
What is the cost?
The cost, I believe, is $2,374. And that's by the same sign company that did the other signs.
And just so you know, the money that comes from the Richard Wright Fund is specified for maintenance at the Wright Farm property and to promote it as agricultural and this, that, and the other. And we're going to be coming forward with another project for some tree removal around the edges to cut back some of the fields and all. And it's also there, we got 83 or 4,000 the first year, and this past year we got 92. And we've spent some of it on machinery work and stuff there, but we have a few things there because we'll end up getting another disbursement in June, and we're not spending all that we got.
And the other thing that, going back to the pond, I think we talked about it this summer, and before the rains came, the idea of going around the edge of the pond and cutting back some of that shrubbery and stuff like that, which would increase the amount of ice in the wintertime for the hockey players.
That's right. Yes. We actually had a father in yesterday on that topic. So anyhow, before we branch off from that, is there a motion to be made to support this? It is not taxpayer dollars, it is donated funds.
Yes, that motion.
Thank you.
Pull it up.
Second.
Okay?
All right. Spent a lot of time on that pond.
Any discussion?
Jim, just the only, and it's really a little bit off topic a bit, but while we're talking about signs, I do. Well, while we're talking about signs, and I'm certainly supportive of this, I'm hoping we can find some funds to shortly replace the historic district signs, one of which is missing, the other one which is falling
They
apart.
presented that to John, I'm not sure where it is right now, but
I know
I
they're
think-
working on it. We're going to have to find money for that, which is probably not going to come from that same source, but
No.
we really need to do that in the center of town. But anyway, I second and support this.
Wonder if we get a multi-sign discount.
They rotted away over time, they fell apart.
Yeah.
Could we get a couple solo stoves surrounding this sign?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. To consider and act on request to authorize the first selectman to execute the master agreement pole attachment agreement for municipal attachments between the United Illuminating Company and the town of Orange. How's that one?
Hold on 1 second before you.
This one is, Vincent went back and forth on this one.
Yeah, so I have a couple more amendments I just want to bring to your attention before you discuss it. Paragraph 6 on page.
Mike, turn your mic on.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Thank you so much.
Beginning on page 8. So, and then I will provide you with a red line for the minutes. Pre-construction and make-ready work. So under the statute, 16-233, the statute provides, so this is a municipal gain statute. So the theory behind this statute is back in, 1905, when the statute came into being, in most states, the utility companies pay the municipalities tax dollars on these utility poles. But in Connecticut, they don't. And so in lieu of paying tax dollars, the municipalities get the right to have a municipal gain. That means the right to mount on something on the pole. Okay? We'd probably be better off getting the tax dollars. But,
True.
that being said, the statute says that each town shall have the right to occupy and use for any purpose without payment therefor, one gain upon each public utility pole, ... So under this agreement, we're not supposed to have to pay to go onto this pole, right? So it's not supposed to cost us anything to go onto this. Well, under this paragraph,
The problem I had with this paragraph, and the reason why it took us so long to get to this point, was I didn't want to read it. Because it was quite problematic, because what they did was they were trying to circumvent the law. And, you know, and I had a conference call with them, and I said, listen, explain this to me. This is not something that every lawyer deals with every day. And I'm going to have to research it, and I don't have the time to get to this yesterday or tomorrow, so you're going to have to wait for my schedule. I'm sorry, I'm not going to accommodate your schedule. And it may take me 6 to 8 months to get to it, and I'm just sorry, it's just what it's going to be. And they didn't like that, but that's what it was. And I represented a lot of municipalities in the district, and they waited. And I had a conference. I said, let's have a conference call and let's discuss this. And I specifically asked them, does this contract affect any of my clients' rights under this statute? There was silence, and I was told no. And then I was waiting for my wife and my daughter to come home from a trip, and I was reading a case, and I stumbled upon a case that basically these folks lost, where they said, wait a second, no, they were modifying our rights. And so I went back to them, I said, folks, I think maybe we need to have another conversation. Here's Judge Charhall's decision where he said, you're modifying the municipality's rights. And again, sometimes you have to be at the right time to address certain issues. And so I said, I'm going to modify this agreement to functionally say that this agreement shall conform with Judge Charhall's decision and shall not in any way modify or impair the municipality's rights under 16-233. There was silence, because what was happening was, with the utilities, what they were trying to avoid was giving the municipalities the right to bring in broadband throughout their entire municipality, because they didn't want competition. They didn't want free broadband brought throughout the municipality. And that's something that the municipality might be able to do. And because the statute says the municipality could use this municipal gain for any purpose, right? So if you wanted to enter into a third-party agreement with some provider to provide free broadband for your constituents, you could do that. But they said, no, wait a second, that's not fair, because we provide broadband. And so they said, you can't do that, municipalities. And the municipality said, sure we can. And so there was this litigation, and the court said, no, municipalities can do what they want. It's for any purpose. So so I modified this agreement, and gratefully, something that I had missed was basically this paragraph says, if you mount onto a pole and the pole is inadequate to service your needs, and that pole needs to be replaced, well, then you have to pay for the replacement of the pole.
They want to whack us for that.
Whoa, not so fast. Right? Because we get that municipal gain. And it's not supposed to cost us anything. That means your pole is supposed to accommodate our needs. Right? Otherwise, the theory would be we'd be getting our taxes on this. So what I've done is, and thank you, Bob, I've modified paragraph 6 on page 8. So I've deleted in B the second half of that paragraph that says, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions, if a pole replacement or make-ready work is necessary to accommodate the municipality's proposed attachment, ... So that whole second half is deleted.
Everything from notwithstanding.
Right, exactly. All right, so because curiously, when I looked at the legislative history, it doesn't say what they say it says. That amendment relates to the DOT, doesn't relate to municipalities. So it's not applicable. And so, again, so then C stays the way it is. D, I deleted in its entirety. E, I deleted it in its entirety. F, I deleted it in its entirety. G, I deleted it in its entirety. Yes. D, H becomes D. I becomes E. J becomes F. K, I deleted it in its entirety. And again, I'll provide Ann with a copy of this, so it'll be attached to your minutes, so that there'll be a red line copy of this with the minutes.
All right, so the question is, should we approve this as noted with your changes? Or should we hold this till next month?
It's your pleasure, whatever your
Does the UI know this is coming?
Well, they said they would approve whatever I wanted. That's what they said. They said they would approve. They said they would approve the agreement to conform with the law.
So Vin, my question is, if this has been a law for so long, why are we first doing this now, and what are we going to gain? What's our municipal gain that we don't already have?
What are we? Well, one of the reasons for my delay was we don't need this. And I said, why would I have my client sign a contract for something that they don't need? Pura is basically pushing the utilities to get all the municipalities onto this program so that there's uniformity across the state, so that when the municipalities have to go on to the polls, there's a uniform program as to what the protocols are. Now, there's not a uniform protocol because most of the municipalities just signed whatever the frontiers and UIs gave to them, which is because that's what I was discovering. Not every lawyer caught what I caught, and so this town will have a different agreement than what other towns have. But so what is the benefit?
Yeah.
The benefit is when you need to go on, you will have an agreement that
allows you to.
You have a statute that allows you
So
to.
give me an example or examples of what we have used up until now.
The flag.
Just putting flags up on that?
Anything you put on there.
Well,
I mean, we
had
haven't
that
put
one
any
that-
cell towers on.
Well, we had that one at one time, that company that wanted to put the Wi-Fi's or whatever
Yeah.
on the tops of the poles, and we had that agreement, they were gonna pay us.
Right.
Then the company from California went bankrupt, that was one.
Fiber optic connectivity between here and the police station. It would be
Well, that's
something
gonna
like
be
that.
everywhere now, they're putting the cable up all around town.
And this applies for current and future polls, so
This applies to poles within the town's right-of-way.
All poles, now and then.
Is it all poles? Because don't some
It's not
poles
all
actually,
poles.
all poles, some of the
State.
poles belong to the UI and
some
some
are-
belong to the
most of-
telephone company?
Yes, it's all.
Yeah, but most of
all
them
poles.
now, they have them installed. There's a company, Riggs Disler, that was our territory here, and they were doing most of the pole installation, whether it was a telephone pole or an electric pole, company pole. They were doing all of them.
So all the same.
Yeah. It depends on the town.
right. So I was thinking we're widening Route 1 all the way down, right? I know it's a state project. They can't say, okay, these are new poles. It falls
Well,
under-
no,
There'll be the poles in town.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
okay.
If it's within the right-of-way, then it
Town
qualifies.
pole.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so do you want to table this till next month for a clean copy, or do you want to approve it with his changes?
We can do it now, yes.
Whatever you want,
It's
I'm asking you.
They'll wait. I mean, it's up to you. I'm not in a rush, clearly. So it's,
Is there any detriment to waiting? Are we missing anything?
no, you're not missing anything. So, I mean, if you feel comfortable, if you
Approving
prefer.
it as noted.
As noted, then approve it. There's, if you'd rather wait and read it, I'll email you the red line and you'll see my red line changes. But it's,
All right, it's up to you people. Tell me what you want to do. Do you want to approve it tonight with changes as noted?
Sure. I think, let's make a motion to approve, authorize.
The master agreement.
The
poll.
master agreement poll attachment from the municipality attachments between the United UI and the town of Orange with the changes so noted at
Yep.
this evening's meeting.
Okay.
whatever.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Do we dare any more discussion on that?
Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, unanimous.
Glad you're on our side.
Okay, oh, Lord.
Not every day.
Okay. Let me move these over here. Okay, to consider and act on the request to authorize the first selectman to execute the agreement between the town of Orange and American National Recovery Group. This is the tax collector's collection agency. They've used this, Sandy used this one for years, and now Tom is in there, and it's time to update the contract. What did he tell me? He told me here.
So,
They sent out, there was about $560,000 in owed in the last that they were working on. They collect about a third of it according to these numbers, which is about a normal rate according to him. And their money that they make is on the, like any of these agencies, they charge a VIG on top of the amount due to the municipality. And like I said, Sandy used them for more than 10 years. She had used them. He's trying to stir the constables. I know we had a little bit of discussion on that
Right.
in the past. I know Mitchell has had some discussion on that. But we also have this collection group that have worked for the town in the past. We've had this, we've had some marshals that have worked in the past trying to collect on some of it also. So that's what it is.
so,
Mitchell.
just, so big picture. So if you're saying we've got 500, I mean, is that enough
Well, no,
monies?
that's what they send out. It's what you get. Some of them are just not collectible.
Right.
Some of them are collected that people didn't know. Some are people that have long since moved. Some people are deceased, estates that are insolvent and stuff. Some can't ever be, we'll never collect them.
Correct.
But they do collect about a third. According to this, they were able to collect on that. Totals was 566 and change. And they ultimately collected over that period of time about 143, well, no, 180. And then there's another 35,000 pending. They may get a total of about 215 out of that 566. So.
So I go back to the question about
That was the tax amounts, yeah.
the constables. Where are they?
Well, some of them are working on it, some of them have other obligations, some of them, and Mitch and I will both tell you, like to have the title. There's been discussion on both sides on it. There are some that are willing to do it and some that are unable to do it. And it's what it is. I think you're gonna see some stirring of the pots possibly in the future. I'll leave, yes.
I was going to say, since the last meeting, I've had some people look into this, and the understanding was that when Tom was first elected as the tax collector, he got the constables together, he gave them their marching orders, and then silence. There's been nothing since. And you're right, though, Jim, doesn't mean all 7 constables are going to go out there and beat the bushes down for back taxes. However, we have these people, and what's happened, and it happened under the previous tax collector, we weren't utilizing them at all. So it became more ceremonial than it should have been by virtue of the actions of the tax collector. And I'd like to see us go back to at least first utilizing the constables before we turn over to an outside company that we're going to, we not actually we, but our taxpayers will be paying additional money to them rather than the people we've elected to do these positions. And if the position takes on more responsibility, as maybe it should, then both parties will be looking at more seriously who they put up to run for these offices and knowing full well that there's a responsibility included, which there hasn't been for decades. That's the first point. The second point is I'm glad this is before us because I don't recall it ever coming before us before. I think the tax collector kind of did it on their own without board approval. So that leads me to, okay, we've been using this company obviously successfully for several years. why are we not either A, putting this out to bid, or at least getting other proposals? Is there somebody else out there? These people, I guess, are in Pennsylvania. I remember at one time when my predecessor, Mr. Sousa, talked about collecting things, there was a revolt going on because it was going to go to a local law firm, and it never got done because we didn't want to send things out we didn't want to send things out at all. The idea was not to send it out to any kind of recovery group. So I'd still rather see it kept in-house, or at least, try. The problem is it's not like we're using the constables and are coming up empty. We're not even trying.
He's going to, this stops with 17, from 13 to 17.
Okay.
So it's old debt.
Okay.
He has not done the 18, 19, 20, 21. He's hoping to use the constables for the fresher collections, hoping that people are still active, people are still here. I mean, although in the last year, 2 years now it is, we've had more people moving than ever, so
Yeah.
you're going to see a transitory group that you're not going to be able to track down.
Especially
But,
the businesses. When the businesses go
yeah,
out, they're next to impossible
yeah,
to
some
collect.
of them all under different titles and all.
Right.
So that's the intent, Mitch, so
Okay, well,
this is
doesn't-
on old debt.
It doesn't say that, but
No,
okay,
but
I
that's what-
trust.
I'm
I trust
looking
that's
at
what
the
it is. But
document, yeah.
okay, if I'm looking at the
And
contract.
Sandy's was
if I-
signed in 11,
Yeah.
just so you know. It's May 11th of 11 is the copy.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we're going to use both, then I feel more comfortable. And I guess the second question
He
is.
would like to.
I mean, the second question then comes down to, is this a sole source, just carry-on contract because we're happy with them, or should we? And I have no idea who does this kind of work, but I mean, should we be looking to at least?
They've been happy with them. Evidently,
Okay.
they're an okay group, is all I can tell you.
Yeah.
I don't get the reports from them because the tax collectors, by statute, have their own authority. So, I think that's why Sandy probably did this on her own in the past, was because she always had that,
Right.
she threw that statutory
She never
thing at me.
I know.
Tom asked.
Yeah. So,
Well, I'd give them credit for that.
yes.
But I would like to see a push to get the constables going, and if next election or something, there has to be some changes, so be it. But I think, Mitch, you've heard, and I've heard from some, that they really felt like they haven't been given assignments.
They weren't being
So-
given them previously. They had faded right off to nothing. So-
That's the point, Jim. They were actually encouraged by the election of the new tax collector that they would be utilized.
No,
which
that's-
I think people were I, for one, was happy to hear that. And then I heard that there was a meeting held, and
Yeah.
or it was.
Even has them all listed on the website with their pictures.
Exactly. I think they all have badges or identification cards. And so I think we did all that, and then we're just saying,
Well,
okay,
now it's starting.
okay. As long as we're going to do that, then I'm
We gotta
okay with
give them
this.
that piece of credit, that it took a lot to get some things
Yeah.
in order. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So with that said, are you accepting of this or not? Is there a motion to be made or not?
May I ask, how long, is this going to be an annual thing that we look at, or is this, I mean, you're saying that they're going to be collecting the debt from
I
2017?
think, well,
There's
that's what they're collecting.
there's
Let me
no
see.
date on this.
No,
It's,
it's-
yeah, it's like next year, they're going to do up until 2018, or?
They have the right to discontinue the service agreement upon 30-day written notice. In the event that the service is discontinued, all payments to the client shall be sent to the client, and the agency will bill the client for any fees
I think
within 90 days.
aren't they going certain grand lists? They're going,
Yeah, they're going for 13 to 17 is what they're working on.
yeah, they're working on specific grand list years.
But what we have in
Okay.
front of us does not say that.
Right. It's
No,
not even
but-
mentioned.
It's a very open-ended contract. That's why, I mean, I agree with Judy that there should be some parameters. Either the contract is from today's date or tomorrow's date through such and such time, and then can be renewed at whenever.
Yeah.
Or it says specifically the grand lists that are at least 4 years old, or it doesn't say that,
I'm looking to see if it said it on the old one here. Hold on.
Once again, Jim, I don't think the old one ever came to us.
No, it didn't.
Right.
No, the old contract is exactly the same, 90
Yeah.
day, 30-day, 90-day.
So with all due respect,
What would you like to add to
I'd like to make a motion to table this, if I could.
Okay.
and have it brought back with the more specific information that it's going to be utilized for and the dates thereof. And I think the tax
I
collector.
mean, the length of contract?
Yeah, length of contract or the fiscal years.
Yeah, but he wants to know the length of the contract, too.
Or the fiscal years, or the fiscal years, 4 years back or 3 years back or whatever.
Oh, you want it specifically identified?
I would. So at least give us some parameters, and I think the tax collector, if he's got a good relationship with these people, then they can work out the details, bring it back next meeting, and I'm sure it'll be approved. That's my thought. So with that, there's a motion to table.
So
wait a minute.
I'm sorry, I'll hold back.
Yeah, no, the only thing I'd say is if, this is a very poorly worded contract, because it's a little letter agreement, but it's kind of in the control of your tax collector. If you look at paragraph 3, it's all fees shall be collected at a rate equivalent to 15% of the tax and interest and fees other than collection fees for all tax years that have been turned over, right? So it's your tax collector has to it's whatever he turns over.
Yeah.
So it's up to him. So this is basically this is the framework of our relationship.
Yep.
And then it's whatever Tom agrees to send us, this is how we're going to behave. And this is how we're going to be paid.
Yep.
If Tom decides not to ever use us, then we don't get paid.
Then you don't get paid.
But if Tom's going to send us, if Tom is telling us he's going to send us 13 to 17, then that's all we're getting is 13 to 17, right? But so that's with paragraph.
He just wants the contract to be more specific, like,
But if
does
you-
it terminate instead of being with 30 days' notice, Mitchell's looking for it to say that it terminates December 31st of '23.
Or the end of a fiscal year, or whatever the
Yeah,
proper
or fiscal year,
proper
yeah.
time is.
Okay.
I just think it should be. Vin, I appreciate that
Yeah.
that interpretation of turned over for collection. I did not catch that. I did read it, but I didn't catch that part of it.
Still, it's not dated.
Yeah, I think it should be. And with that, once again, I'll try a motion to table.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. And we'll get him to have it dated for a term,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Because with the information he's provided even, it doesn't have a term
Right.
to it, so, okay.
We need a vote.
Got a second.
The motion to table is,
Well, there's going to still have a vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, table.
Thank you.
All right, last one is to consider and act on a request to approve tax refunds totaling $27,388.20.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous, okay. And two committees, pension, Mitchell, did you meet, or you're next week?
My report is what we're meeting next week.
Okay. And Ralph has just started capital planning?
All right, we've got 2 inputs in.
That's it?
They're all, the rest are due by.
3, one is not doing anything.
Sorry?
There's actually a third, one is not doing anything.
Okay,
That'll be an easy one.
yeah,
They're all supposed to be in by tomorrow.
okay. All right, is there any other stuff you want to do? I will say, I think, and Vincent has to answer me with a nod on it, did they extend the zoning meeting that's supposed to be next week because they haven't gotten their studies back yet?
We are proceeding on Tuesday
Next Tuesday?
for the procedural, request for recusal and the intervenor motions that came in.
Requests that came in.
So
This is
we're-
for the cannabis application.
Yes, so there was a request that I recused myself because there was confusion that the draft regulation that I drafted in August of 2021 at the request of the commission was somehow done in concert with the applicant who didn't come to town until July of 2022.
22?
Okay.
So we met in the fifth dimension somewhere, and so So I've prepared today a response to that, which I'll address on Tuesday. And then there are 3 motions to intervene, where they're claiming that this project is damaging the environment. And so they're seeking environmental intervener status.
All right, are they still gonna take public input at that meeting?
No, so what we're gonna do is, we're waiting on the traffic study. So the applicant has granted us an extension, but we wanna, I'm concerned about timing.
You have to address these issues that
So
you
we're gonna-
spoke of.
Yeah, we're gonna deal with these issues, because that could take some time. We'll deal with the procedural issues, and then we'll likely adjourn to the December meeting.
Okay. All right.
And take more public input in December?
And then December, it'll just be
Back
traffic.
to a regular meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of concern. I've had very mixed commentary on all sides of the aisle on this particular topic, and it's a very difficult topic for the zoning commission. They faced some difficult discussion there with people at the podium. But the opinions I'm getting from people around town are all over the board. You know, so it's one of those hot topics, which is, some are gonna be happy, some are gonna be sad, and some are gonna be somewhere in between, no matter what decision is ultimately had on that one. So, okay, trying to think if there's anything
I'll move to adjourn.
else. Motion made, all in favor, and it looks like it's 8:30 something. The glare hits that clock just right. PJ.